Hey y'all, Darth Maulian here again. So today we're going to do a tour of this, what I'm calling the Massive Factory. We are here, as you see, at the Boston Airport, the Boston International Airport. And there's a nice backdrop of the city behind me, as much as it is a nice backdrop. But today we're going to take a tour of this Massive Factory. I was originally going to do another let's build and have you guys follow along as I build this thing, but it proved too difficult at this time to do that, so I had to, because I basically had to build the entire thing before, to make sure that everything would function properly before I could actually do anything. So anyway, let's go ahead and head on in and let's take a tour. So here is the main area. As you see, there's a whole bunch of switches here. This is the only actually lit area. I put a whole bunch of lights here to make sure it's relatively bright, but it's the main area. And we've got a whole bunch of lights and a whole lot of switches on the wall. And here is the conveyor storage. Now you see that that is on and running. Let's see, there is nothing in there right now, and that's okay. Which, because I didn't actually have anything, but that way, because you see we've got the main over here. This turns on all of the conveyor belts in, well, most of the conveyor belts. The only ones it doesn't is the ones on the top floor, which is the sorting. So the conveyor belts for the sorting and the initial vacuum pump to pull things out of the what is that? Whatever, the main box. But it has I got a vacuum hopper hooked up to that, and it pulls anything I store in there. I did leave this place. The reason I built here is because, number one, it is nice and flat, even though there are, you know, some chunks of concrete and some debris around here. It is pretty flat, and there's virtually nothing here. And you really can't use this for very much. So I decided to build here and build a nice big factory. I deliberately left this off of my trading grid, so it's not included, because I know that if you do include it, just a warning for those who are wanting to do something like this, or who are doing a big factory or whatever, if you do include the settlement that you're wanting to build your factory in as part of your trade routes for all of your for all of your settlements, it can potentially pull items out of other settlements. So just a heads up, be careful with that, and that's why I decided to leave this one completely off the grid, so I don't have to have that issue. Let's go ahead and throw the main switch here, and you can hear in just a moment. There they go. They have started up. And so, and you see we've got these lights here. So some of these are lit, not all of them are, and that's fine. So, and I'll show you why. So the vacuum sorter, we're going to actually go ahead and flick that switch, because I got a few items that need to be sorted. And we're going to let those run while I show you guys how these switches are all linked together. At the end of the video, well, towards the end at least, I will be showing you how I wired this. I'm going to give you a tour of the whole factory and show you how I wired it, and it's a mess. But it works. I have already tested it. So we're going to start. You see we've got ammo, armor, guns, E-guns, and H-guns. Now that's energy guns and heavy guns are the last two. These are all 5 of the constructors. So the different constructors that you can build in the factory. There's several more that you can build, but because of how many different components are required for all the rest of these, I decided to go ahead and just stick with these 5. So what these do is these switches, you'll see ammo, armor, weapons, energy weapons, and heavy weapons. So each of these switches are connected to these. I tried to hide the wiring as much as possible. As you see, there's very little wiring that you can actually see from in here, except for, of course, the main wire coming down to the computer. basically this when you throw one of these switches, let's go ahead and throw the ammo switch, and you'll hear a noise, and you'll also see that there's all the lights that turn on. Now what that noise is the diverters up above, and that's so that everything flows. Whenever I release the components, they flow into the correct constructor, and so some of these, the armor one, I believe, is the one that doesn't actually require any of those diverters. So if you turn that one on, let's do that. Yeah, no diverters up above, but all the lights over here are now on. So when we throw this switch, it brings power to these switches on the wall. So as you see, each one is labeled, and the way I've built this is so you got all the 3 different kinds, or the 9 different kinds of armor, 10 different kinds of ammo, the 10 different base weapons, the 5 energy weapons, and the 4 heavy weapons. And the way it's built is everything is hooked up to different components, and that makes it simple, so you're not throwing, a whole ton of excess components into the constructors. So it limits how much you actually end up in there at the end. I did not have any kind of a storage return on this build, simply because I don't have the room. This place is rather small. This is about, I've got, as you see, 6 blocks. I think I can go one more before I hit the edge, and that's it. So it's not very big, and this is, we're about the end of this. It goes all the way down, and so this is about as big. I can build it, I think, one more story taller, but that's about it. And it's just, this is a huge build, and I had to go over budget multiple times, if you can notice by the lag. So anyway, so the way it works is you come over here, and when you first come in, you throw the main switch, and that turns on all the conveyor belts. And if you need to sort any components, go ahead and throw that switch. If not, leave it, because that does eat up some of the processing on this, because it has to determine, it's running more conveyor belts, and it's determining whether or not items need to be sorted or whatever. You may hear some dings here and there, by the way, up above. That's from the sorters. So anyway, so you throw the main switch, come here to the computer, log in, and determine what you want to build. Then you come over to the constructor switches and throw the switch for whatever you've decided you're going to build. So whatever the main category is. Then you walk over to that section and throw the switch for the specific item you're wanting to build. So let's test it out, shall we? Let's come in here, and we are going to go ahead and go with heavy weapons. And I want to build a Gauss rifle. That sounds fun. I don't think I have very many of those, so that would be nice to build. So now we've got the constructor set up for Gauss rifles. So we got to throw the switch for the heavy guns, set the diverters, and come over here to the heavy weapons wall and throw the switch for Gauss. Now, it kind of froze for a second there. Sorry about that. It's doing a lot of stuff, and like I said, I'm going to show you exactly what all this is doing later, in a moment. But let's go ahead and throw that, and I think that's good enough. So let's turn that off. This is just controlling the hoppers, by the way, so we can watch from here and see when we get our Gauss rifle. We should have enough components to, it may take a minute, but we'll go ahead and check for that Gauss rifle. Did I leave the, okay. I think I hear it. Well, maybe I hear the hopper up above. You see the foot right there. And yes, you see a wire over there. There's a, and I'll like I said, I'm going to show you guys all the wiring, so you guys know exactly what I did for whenever, if you decide you want to build anything as well. Now this can be easily scaled up or scaled down depending on your needs. So if all you want is an ammo factory, you can dispense with this wall and just throw a main switch. There wouldn't be a diverter at all because everything would be in the ammo box, and it would all come into the one location. So one constructor. So you would just have these 10 plus the main switch, and if you wanted to, a vacuum sort switch, and that's it. So and so you can have, you know, whichever ones you want. You can actually have, if you've got the room, of course. I did not here, but if you do have the room, you can always build something that has every single one. I would recommend that on PC simply because of how laggy this is already, just with this smaller setup. And there are, I want to say, around, I believe there's about 10 to 12 different actual constructors in the game. So yeah, you're looking at least double this, and even more complexity with the different components, because all 5 of these constructors required. Am I not getting one? Did I not send enough? I might not have sent enough. I don't hear the hopper going. Let's throw the gas again for a few more seconds. I might not have gotten enough stuff. So anyway, so these 5 here, just these 5 constructors, in order to build everything out of these 5 constructors, you actually have to have 21 different components. So that's a lot. And I did it by components because, as you see, just the weapons and the ammo have 20, and then, you know, we're looking at, you know, over 30 different items here, almost 40. All right, I think that's enough for the Gauss. Turn that off. Hopefully we should have enough stuff now. Okay, here, the hopper up above. Still nothing. I'm wanting to show you guys the Gauss rifle actually flowing down this conveyor belt. I think that would be kind of cool. So we'll see if we can get a shot of that here. But anyway, so yeah, if you try to do it by, you know, setting each of these to a sorter, it gets to be a hassle, because you're gonna, first off, you're going to sort everything out into a handful of different ones. You know, anything that has steel, and most of these do use steel, will get sorted out in the first one, and nothing else gets steel. And it's just, so it's a whole lot easier if you just do it by component, and it reduces the amount of stuff you actually need to have. So we're going to... So I'm going to show you that, but yeah, 21 different components for these, and I figured out if I was going to have the explosives and the fireworks in here as well, I wanted to have 7 different sorters, or 7 different constructors, and, you know, do a lot of stuff, because the explosives and the fireworks actually share quite a few components with everything else. Is it still running? Oh yeah, we got lots of stuff in there. Okay, that's going to take a minute. So yeah, so I wanted to because it shares the fertilizer with the ammo, and there's also several other components like steel and lead and some of the other items in there. I think plastics are in some of those, and nuclear material and a few others. But there's enough unique items in those to go ahead and say, yeah, I don't want to build this, because it's going to add, so many more sorters. Oh, look at that. There's a Gauss rifle coming on down. How about that? All right, let's go ahead and throw the switch on the, we're going to throw the main switch. Switch off heavy guns. We're actually going to come in here just to make sure it doesn't build anything extra. And because, well, let's see here. Okay, this requires, I just got to check real quick. Okay. I think it's the same. Oh, wait, no, that requires gears, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. So we're going to actually set this to the Fat Man, because the Fat Man requires gears, but we're not going to turn it on. We're going to leave it off there, and we're going to turn the main switch back on to make sure that all the components, we're going to turn off the vacuum sort, because I don't need that dinging away. But as you see, we now have a Gauss rifle. We might actually have another one coming down the line here. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, so we'll check in a bit, but that's how we get it. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave the main lines on so that all the components go ahead and, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, because I don't want it running while I'm showing this off. So let's go ahead and take a look. There's not another one coming. So, all right, what we're going to do first is we're going to go through the factory itself. And I'm going to take you down on the bottom floor here, and then we'll head up to the top and work our way down. So we start over here, and there is the main settlement build item. There's the vacuum hopper, of course, and it goes straight into an elevator, to another elevator, to another elevator. And this, of course, is our required generator, because this place uses so much power. I had to have the 500 power generator in order to make sure that everything was actually work all at the same time. So let's head up, and we come up these stairs. I'm going to ignore everything behind me just so you guys, I'm going to show you here in a minute. Yes, by the way, this did take quite a while. And here is the sorting room. So, as you see, we've got a lot of stuff in here. There's nothing in there. That's good. I built this, and this is the only part that actually goes up higher. I built this, originally I actually had a curved set of rollers here, and then that's how I got everything to line up on this side, by the way. I just did a short curve, and then another L turn on the conveyor, and it lined up perfectly. But the problem is those rollers are unpowered, and so I don't know why they did this, but they didn't give us anything that would curve properly, or give us a short turn. They gave us these long turns instead of short turns, and that's what I really was hoping for, was short turns, because then I could do better things with them. But they decided to give us long turns, and it doesn't work out very well in the end, because now I have to have this setup where it goes into a conveyor storage and then another vacuum hopper. But originally I didn't have that, so I had to build this, and I still like having this. I built this, you may have seen if you watched my Sanctuary Hills build, you may have seen a similar setup that I did in the little tiny factory there. But, so you just put, you know, this is the what is it? The scaffolding stairs. You put a short scaffolding stairs here, attach a small platform and another short scaffolding stairs on the other side, and you've got a path over. And it will not block anything. And you don't have to actually jump on it. You can. I can sit here and jump on this and fall over. But, you know, doing that, you could potentially knock things off and kick them all over, and it's not fun. So, anyway, so the way this is all set up is everything comes down the line here, and they go into these. There's 21. There's 3 rows of 7, and I just have them alphabetical. So, each one feeds into its own hopper. And so that way, each hopper, so this hopper is, as you see, fertilizer. This one over here is our crystal, although there's some concrete in there. Not sure what that's doing in there. This one over here is the copper. So each one has, we've got the different components. There shouldn't be, oh, there's ceramic, which is fine. We don't. That's one of the things, as you see, ceramic. It fed through all these. It doesn't, I don't have anything that uses ceramic for these constructors. So it feeds it into, this is the end stage of the line. So any components that are not used end up in here, and then I can take them and deposit them at other settlements. And so we come down here, and so we've got access. I wanted that bridge over there so that I have access to all the areas, because the way these sorters work, the component sorters, they end up sometimes getting things jammed up in them, and sometimes things will fall underneath the table or underneath the conveyor belts here. Other times they'll get really jammed up in here and things will start backing up, and it kind of gets to be a mess sometimes. So I just want to make sure I had access, and I, you know, for those who are wanting to build something similar, make sure you have access to your component sorters or any kind of sorter, because this stuff can back up if too much is sent down the line too quickly. I set my hoppers to a 3-second interval, and that seems to hold things off pretty well. They don't jam up nearly as often. I started off with the default, and things were getting all jammed up, and it was exploding everywhere, and it was a mess. And that's probably where that concrete piece came into play down there. But anyway, so yeah, 3 seconds seems to be a pretty good rule. You can go a little longer than that if you want, but 3 seconds is probably about the shortest you want to go. So let's come down, and we're going to come up to the hopper level. Now this level is where we see the bottom sides of all the hoppers, and you can actually see there's the top sides of the constructors. They actually can't fit. I can't snap in. Well, I could probably have snapped in the foundation piece or the floor piece on top of those, but that's okay. Doesn't matter right now. Anyway, so these are the conveyor belts, and what happens is each you see there's one wire going to each of these, and when the power is sent to that, the hopper door opens and it starts sending stuff down this, which sends it, any of these will send it onto this conveyor belt, because unfortunately the way the system is set up, there's a splitter for the lines, but there is not a combiner. It won't bring two lines together. So I had to have everything drop onto this conveyor belt, which then drops into another hopper. I originally didn't have the hopper here, and that caused all sorts of problems. I'm going to show you that here just right now. So we're going to go downstairs and take a look at the constructor level. So there's all the lines. And, oh, look, there's some stuff, as you see. Got a lot of stuff sitting on the conveyor belt. Because I turned that off, we're going to go ahead and pick this all up. There's the diverters right there. You see we got those there. Oh, we got to go around the other. Well, let me just hop over this. No problem. Let's just pick these all up. Some nuclear material. And what do we got in here? We're going to take everything out of there. And nothing in the ammo plant. Anything in the heavy weapons? Yeah, let's take all of that. See, and when you shut off the diverters, things end up in multiple of these, because they will sit there and some things are already heading down the diversion. They're down the fork and they're already on this, and then you shut off the diverter here, and now all of a sudden they're going straight forward. And that's okay, because I don't have these things set to build anything, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, so everything comes down the hopper, and then it determines whether or not. Now, these rollers here actually do move. Well, you don't see them move, but they do actually move. They will move things along them, which is extremely nice. I'm very glad they at least did that. But this piece here is the split, of course. So, you know, you got the different splits for the different constructors down here. So, and this, of course, as you see, is the always on. And it is hooked up directly to the power, and it's always going to be on. And so that is that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the wiring now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys around back. So, well, let's go ahead and check. Did I get another one? Okay, we crashed. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Tends to crash sometimes when you have overbuilt as much as I have. So let's go ahead, and I was going to show you the wiring. This is an earlier save, so I don't actually even have the Gauss rifle on me, but that's okay. I don't need it in order to show you the wiring. So let's come on out, and we're going to come around the corner here. And there, of course, is the futuristic sort of Boston. So let's come in here. Oh. That jumped out. And this is where the wiring is. So let's take a look at the mess of wires. Haha, look at all that. So basically, here's the way all this is set up. I'm going to kind of go over this real quick. I've got these up above for just to make it clean. So this, of course, is the main power, what it feeds out to. That is feeding to the main power, so there's not a wire showing there. These back here are for the different... I had to use logic gates to put the for the different diverters up above, and those are that was the only way I could get it to work, because I originally had it where each of those fed, or each of these up here would feed up to the diverters. But the problem was, when you do it that way, if you send, the only one that would work properly was the ammo, or the armor, I'm sorry, because the armor doesn't actually use any diverters. Everything else would activate all the diverters, because there's power that flows from there to here, which flows up to one of the diverters, and then it flows from here, from that diverter, down to the next one, the next terminal here, and that feeds to another diverter, which feeds down to another terminal. So it just, yeah, everything gets activated. The whole wall was lit up, and it was just a mess. So I decided I needed to do something different, and this is what I came up with. These are XOR, so exclusive OR, and I feed all the lines in to this and one line feeding out to the diverter, and it works. It feeds only a single power, comes in, and if I have more than one of these going in, nothing is powered. So, which nothing is powered doesn't actually mean anything, it just turns off the diverters. But that being said, the only way that it works is by doing it this way. And it functions properly, as you saw. I was able to get the Gauss rifle built just fine. So yeah, so this right here is what brings this. So this terminal feeds, as you see, the 10 different spots for the ammo. It's right on the other side of this wall. And you see all the lines coming out. And then, of course, the armor, the weapons. And then I've got down here heavy weapons and energy weapons. I had to do it down below so that I could actually get it, the wires hidden. Now, all this mess of wiring over here, all these lines over here, feed onto the component wall. And I did this to make it easier. I left a stair there, but that's okay. As you see, I've got all of the components, all these terminals are labeled. They're all numbered, and it's in order of exactly which component they belong to. So component number 1 here is adhesive. Component number 2 is aluminum, and so on, all the way down to wood. So, but that made it a whole lot easier for me. It only took me, and I did this number 1 so that there's not a massive jumble of wires going all the way up to the different hoppers up above. And because the it makes it look cleaner, and it's a whole lot easier to move things and change things if they're right here and only one wire is going to the hopper. You can just change things on this wall here if you need to add anything or whatever. But everything feeds everything. So, for example, that Gauss rifle, it uses things like adhesive and nuclear material and some of these others. So it's the Gauss rifle is hooked up to the number 1 switch. It's also hooked up to the, I believe it's number 14 is the nuclear material. I'm getting caught on these cement blocks over here. But each one of these is hooked up to multiple. Nothing is hooked up to only one, because none of these actually use only one component. But everything is hooked up to multiple components over here, so that it feeds correctly. And so that is the way I ended up doing this. This right here is the main power switch. So with that feeds to the main power, or the main power feeds to here, which feeds over to the conveyor belts up above for the constructors, and then up to the next line, which is the ones for the hoppers. This right here is the vacuum sorter. All it is it feeds one line over to the... I didn't have a wall there when I was doing this, but it feeds one line over to the vacuum hopper right on the end here. And the way these factory pieces are set is, as long as they are connected, as long as they snap to each other, and there's that wire, by the way, as long as they snap to each other, they will be powered. And that is one of the things I really like about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn it on one more time. I'm just going to do the main power and the vacuum sorter. And we're going to go up and kind of watch it for just a moment, just so you can see and watch it go through its paces for a little bit. I'm not going to take too long on that, but we won't set anything, and nothing else is turned on, so we'll be okay. Let's come up here. Let's actually take a look, just so you see. This is 3-second intervals. 1, 2, 3, and there's the next one. So it's nice. 3-second intervals works really well. But the stuff kind of comes through here, goes into the elevator, and gets elevated all the way up to the top floor. And of course those are on, but they don't need to be. Yes, that hopper down there is open, and that's okay because there's actually nothing in it. So we don't want to come down this line. We want to go up these stairs. Let's come up here. And we should have stuff coming out. Yep, see, there's some stuff coming down the line. Come on, something. I know you can do it. I got a lot of stuff in there. Come on. All right, well, let's come down this line here. And you'll see it's coming through. And there it is. I guess I only got the one for the moment. That's okay. It's fertilizer, so let's watch it. And it should get... Let's hop over this. You should hear a ding when it enters this. Ding. And there it goes. And it drops down into the hopper. And just like that, we added another fertilizer. So, yeah, sometimes these things get hung up a little bit, but they tend to work pretty well. And there goes some adhesive in the Wonder Glue. And there it goes. Right into the hopper. So it works pretty well. I'm really happy with how it turns out. But so a couple other things while this is running here in the background. Just so you know, these as you see, there is one wire going from this to that, and that's because, like I said, I had to separate them because that corner piece didn't want to work. So I had to do this setup, which works. It pulls things out of this. The vacuum hopper works just fine. But in order to keep it powered, I had to hook it up to one of these. So these are all connected, since these are all snapped together all the way down to the bottom. The elevators are snapped, which I snapped the conveyor belts to the elevators and snapped in the component sorters. So these don't actually have to be individually powered, which is really nice. It makes it so that you can keep these systems as separate as you want. So you can actually, if I wanted to, I could actually change this up and put a vacuum hopper right here and another component sorter right over here. And that would allow me to, first off, I could get rid of this little thing and put just a flat roof across the top. But it would also allow me to control the power situation a little better. So we could drop a line of power from the vacuum hopper here to a separate switch called sort. And having a storage at the end here would allow me to have one called vacuum, which brings up just the vacuum. It just pulls things out of the main storage, sends them up the elevators, and throws them into a storage up here. So that could work if you're looking at different ways to do things and to separate them out. Yes, that is a way that it could work. Another note, just so you know, is these hoppers. These snap to, there are technically 3 different points that they will snap to. So they will, of course, snap to the end of any conveyor belt. There's technically 3 points of snapping on each side. So it's actually 12 points around the top that they can snap to. But not only that, as you see here, these hoppers are actually snapped to the floors. They will snap to the floors on either the top area or this lower, the lower ring, I guess. But it'll snap to either one. I wanted these on the top, on the lower one rather, and it works out. Everything was able to snap in. Now I could have snapped these into the lower one, but the problem is it ends up, there's 2 problems for that. So let me show you those issues real quick, and then I think we will finish this up and show you guys. Well, I guess this video will be over at that point, but that's okay. So as you see, these hoppers are really tall. I don't know why they made them this tall, but they did. So the way it works is these hoppers, what they will do is, see how their feet are right on the ground here. They're right on the floor, and that's kind of how I wanted this level to look. But that is, of course, too high for this level. So what I had to do is these are approximately the size of one block, which is one of the reasons why they're so darn large. But they're approximately the size of one block. And they, as you see on this one, I actually snapped it into the on the top portion of the hopper into the floors here. I was able to get it in. Had to dismantle part of this in order to get it in, but I was able to get it in. The only way that this works, though, is now the only other thing is, see this foot right here. I don't know if I could actually snap. Well, actually, I think I could. But anyway, because I had it snapped to the like these are to the upper ring, or the lower ring, I guess, initially, but the way this ends up going is, see how the feet go through the ground, they go through the floor here. If you can't actually take it through whatever you're trying to put it through, it won't go, it won't snap. So I actually had to remove this floor piece, and then in order to get this to snap where I wanted it to, and it snapped in and everything works, because if I had it higher, it ended up blocking that the conveyor belt on the floor, like this. See, it sticks out the top, and it would block this conveyor belt. And I had tested it, and yes, it does. So I ended up snapping this here. I had to remove this floor piece, but only the one, and this was able to snap in on the bottom, the lower position, which is really nice, and I'm very glad that it was able to do that. Because otherwise, when I initially had this, I had another conveyor belt, a short conveyor belt sticking out the back here, and things just dropped down. I had lined up all the conveyor belts above to make sure that they dropped down properly. Problem was, some of the larger items ended up bouncing when they hit the conveyor belt, and they fell to the side. I was trying to think of ways that I could do a little angle, something, kind of glitch something in the wall there to make it sure it slid off and onto the conveyor belt. And I realized that a hopper here is actually going to be, number one, better control, and number two, it actually just makes things a whole lot easier, because they just feed into the hopper, and then the hopper feeds onto the conveyor belt. So, but that is the build here, guys. Sorry, this is kind of a long video. But I just want to show this off. I'm really happy, really excited about how this ended up turning out, and I'm very glad it did. So if, let me know if you end up building something even bigger, if you have any suggestions. I know if you're building something bigger, you probably have to go to someplace huge to get a storage return. You would have to build someplace, I don't know, Abernathy Farm or Spectacle Island, something huge like that, in order to get all the buildings, all the constructors going here. That's about the only way you could do it, I think. But yeah, so anyway, so that is it for today. Let's go ahead and shut off power, and everything's off. So let me know what you think. And it is raining outside, but we are inside, so that is nice. Let me know what you think, and stay tuned for the next video. I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm going to do. This was the only idea I had at the moment, so we'll see what I come up with for the next video. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye.